Mr. Mayor and council member, thank you for attending the budget workshop. In front of you, you have 3 sets of copies. Since last time, council member Romanello had a question about the budget calendar. I provided you a copy, of course. And then you also have a copy of the agenda and the budget. So going over the agenda, tonight we're going to provide you some CERSA updates. They came in a little bit higher than expected. And then we're going to go over each fund, go over some assumptions we have updates on, but also the fund balance, and then the next steps. Moving on to the next slide. Do you have any questions so far? No? Okay, so moving to the next slide, we received some CERSA updates for 2024. The first one is workers' compensation. The change year over year, it's about 75%. And if you look on your presentation or up on the screen, you'll see the majority is driving, PD is driving the majority of the increase. Since we received the code, we did have a conversation with CERSA, and they provided us a reason why this 2024 expected workers' comp went up so high. They said it's a combination of multiple factors. The rates went up because of some claims, also because of the number of employees, which we're gonna send them the new FTEs for 2024, and we're going to see where we're going to land. The numbers are not due till the end of 2023, but we do have to provide them what we have in order for them to give us some estimates for next year. Any questions on this slide? Okay. So property and casualty, kind of similar story. PD had seen the largest increase. Overall, it was a 49% increase year over year, 2023 versus 2024. And the majority is in PD. And it's the same explanation. Yes, we do have some additional cars for PDs, but also the number of officers, the claims and whatnot. Again, we're going to send our headcount number, revised headcount number, and they're going to run the numbers again and provide us another estimate. We're going to send them the numbers tomorrow, and hopefully within a week or so, we should receive another estimate. So by the next budget workshop, which is on 10/16, we should have a better estimate from them. So general fund, you gave us a goal, a target of being around 12% in reserve, unrestricted reserve. We are at 11.6. We are about 43,000 short. We still have, and I'm jumping ahead, we still have some other assumptions to finalize, which is medical and dental. It's going to be towards October. So I believe this number is going to be easy to make up to get to the 12% because it's such a small variance we have to find. Either we take out a project or maybe the medical and dental is going to help. Right now, medical is at 11% increase year over year and dental 5%.
Question.
Yes.
What was our 2023 reserve?
12.85%.
And where are we at with that?
You mean in terms of actual spending?
Have we tapped into the reserve?
No, no.
Okay, so if we don't tap into the reserve for the remainder of the year, why wouldn't we be starting off at 12% at the beginning of the year?
We're gonna, so whatever savings we're gonna have in the budget for 2023 is going to roll over to the beginning balance of 2024. So we're going to see those numbers. And you're right, we can easily make up the difference or even more by having savings from previous year. I just don't know exactly how much it's going to be. We still have the month of September and then October, November, December.
You should have I mean, you should be able to see if we're going to have to tap into the reserves already.
No, we have not tapped into the reserves. And just to remind you, on the 20th, which is Wednesday, we will send you August year to, is it? Yes, it's August. I got a bit confused. August year to date, so we can see where we're at for general fund and all the funds. No, we don't. But then, just to remind you, when we build the 2023 budget, our attorney expenses included a different rate. The actuals are actually coming at a higher rate. So there are certain things that are coming a little bit higher than, and then we also have some new positions we haven't had in 2023 budget. One of them being the IT director. And I sent you an email after the last workshop explaining some of the variance in salaries. So there will be some expenses coming in higher than budgeted.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, the restricted balance didn't change. This is the majority of the 2.3 million is the ARPA funds, which will be used on the JCP project. And then we have a requirement of 3% to keep a stable reserve. And then on this page, you have all the other funds. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can see all the funds are being balanced as of today. I'll give you a minute to, kind of review and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, moving on to the next slide. As I mentioned, the next steps, we're still waiting on some other assumptions to come in. And, the benefits are a big one, the health and dental. And then, as the water projects are being completed or the work on JCP is being done and whatnot, this will move the numbers a little bit for either capital fund or water fund. And then also we're still reviewing the sales tax trends to see how they're coming in right now. I don't know if you have heard, but the mayor of Colorado Springs, city of Colorado Springs, they see a problem with the sales tax. Actually, their sales tax it's not coming up at the level they expected, it's going down. And they have a hiring freeze. We are not seeing any of that. Our sales tax, it's anywhere between 6 to 8% increase year over year. So thankfully, we don't see that problem, and we don't expect to see this problem in 2024 with, the new constructions, having more homes, and also new businesses.
Quick question on the sales
Yes.
tax. Do we have a breakout where we can see sales tax from brick and mortar stores and
Yes.
sales tax from
Mhm.
homes? Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of details, but I can provide you the internet versus brick and mortar. And also, we actually looked 3 years back, or was it 2021, 2022, 20? So 3 years back with this year. And we can see every year, and I can provide you if you like to see this analysis
Yes.
tomorrow. We've seen, so in 2021, internet sales was about, and that was 2021, which was impacted by COVID to some certain extent. The internet was about 9% and then went up 1% every year since then. So in 2023, so far, we have about 11%. Yep. Yes, and I will send you this tomorrow. We're going to have our next session, review of the budget on 10/16. And during that session, we will actually review also the amended 2023 budget because we have some changes. Like I said, the attorney being one change, the sales tax is coming in a little bit stronger than what we budgeted for. And then the comp plan, we expected to kick off beginning of the year, but we've seen some delays. So there are some changes which I'm going to walk you through what we've seen so far. And then the adoption of the budget and the amended budget will be in November, unless obviously you have some changes to that. Do you have any questions so far, or any other questions, I should say, so far? Okay, so in the appendix, last time you asked me for some FTE year-over-year change in salary specifically. I did send you an email after our review, which had, how the numbers change by department for general fund. But in this slide, you see the changes versus 2023. So this is budget to budget, year-over-year change. And this is by fund, but for general fund, you can see the departments as well. And one of the columns says if this position is in the budget or not. There is only one position that's not in the budget. Everything else, it's in the budget. And then because that's a lot of information, I broke that information down between vacant and new. Okay. And that's my presentation for tonight. Do you have any questions I may answer for you?
On the head count,
Yes.
what's your total number of increased head count year over year?
So with vacant and new, it's 20. But if you like to see just new, will be 11 for general fund 7 and PD 4.
So last year, there was supposed to be a position for someone to be dealing with us moving towards collecting our own taxes. And we are now in September, and do we have a vendor yet that's been approved?
So we have a conversation next week with a sales tax consultant to have to kind of pick her brain and see what we can do, like what opportunities are out there. Should we outsource? Should we bring in-house? What will be her recommendation? She's been with the city of Denver for, she worked as a tax manager for about 15 years. And then when she retired, she became a consultant for municipalities in Colorado. She was highly recommended by Brighton, city of Brighton. And we're going to have a conversation with Mike and her next week to see, what kind of information we should be looking for. At the same time, we had a presentation for a software, for a sales tax software. It's used by most municipalities in Colorado. It's called MuniRev, or how is it called? GovOS. So it's the same name. They just changed the name. So we had that as well. I reach out via CML to other municipalities just to see how they're doing. And so I had a survey. And I can send you the results of the survey, like what they said they're using, if it's in-house, if it's outsourced, or if the Department of Revenue is collecting their sales taxes. So if you like to see the information, I can send you. No?
No, I just want to know why it's taking so long.
It's not an easy process. We reach out to Woodland Park, and they took this process in-house. And even for them to implement this process, it took about 2 years because you have to find the software, you have to hire specialized workforce, and then you have to rewrite the code. You have to give a notice to the state so they stop collecting the taxes, but you have then to do all the filings, the audits. So it's a very complex process.
Okay, well, so we're 9 months into a 2-year process.
Well, we also had the audit, the budget. There were a few other things in between. You know, it wasn't just the sales tax, looking just at the sales tax.
But, well, we told the citizens that we're voting for home rule, that this is one of the benefits.
Mhm.
We need to be moving full steam ahead on getting that benefit, because it was like a 10%, in some cases higher, recovery over what the state was collecting.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I reach out, one of the survey questions was about how much was the increase from state collect to self-collect. Nobody was able to provide us a figure. So I welcome if you have any numbers, or if you have a town or a city you talk with specifically and gave you this figure,
Yeah,
do you
Castle
mind if you
Pines did.
share?
Town manager from Castle Pines did, so Mike could reach
I-
out to.
Yeah, I reached out to the finance director and he was not able to provide me a figure. I have emails stating that. He said, the finance director, Mike Farima, he did say he thinks he's seen an increase. So their change happened around COVID time. So he's not sure if the increase is driven by the change from being state to self-collect or because of the COVID, but he did say he's seen an increase. And what they're doing in Castle Pines, they outsource the entire process to a company called HDL. And they are basically collecting, and they didn't hire anyone and they didn't invest in a software. We reach out to HDL, and I have a conversation tomorrow with them as well.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, yes, we've been working on the sales tax. We did have some companies decline to give us a presentation, if I'm not, and
Yes.
that was the first three, I believe, didn't refused to give us any type of proposal to work with us.
Yeah.
Some of the municipalities that we were reaching out who have gone to self-collecting, they are now resorting back to due to some
To
of
be in state collect.
state collect.
Mhm.
So there's been a lot of other little factors in between, but we've kept that on a priority as far as
Yeah.
Mona and her team with researching. We just want to make sure we get it right and get you guys the right information moving forward.
Do you
But-
have any idea how many home rule municipalities percentage-wise are self-collecting?
Yes, the majority are self-collecting, but some of them, actually 3 municipalities, and again, it's only who responded to me. They said they're gonna wanna take it back to the state to be state collect, although they are home rule because they're smaller municipalities, and it's very difficult for them to support the extra cost of the software, an employee audits and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I'm with the mayor. We were told by Castle Pines that they saw 10 to 15% additional revenue from that, so.
Unfortunately, they were not able, the finance director was not able to provide me this figure. Like I said, he mentioned he'd seen an increase. It's just he was not sure how much it was due to COVID and how much was due to the self-collection. But we're looking into it. Like Erika said, we're not dropping the ball. We're looking into it, but it's not a process that's gonna, it's a complex process, and this is our largest source of revenue. So we have to take in consideration a lot of factors and to receive some guidance.
Have you done any have you had any conversations with them as far as lodging taxes and other additional taxes that home rule?
I'm so
communities would have?
sorry. Yes, so other taxes, yes. Actually, I put together a presentation about lodging tax because it's something we don't collect. And that can be, now that we are home rule, and I have a proposal to the town manager, I show him some analytics. We can charge up to 5%, even higher. There are some municipalities who are charging 10% in lodging. And we can include not only the hotel we have, but we can include VRBO, we can include Airbnb, we can charge a lodging tax.
Would that would have to be self-collected then, correct? Or would that wouldn't go through the state?
No,
would it?
not through the state. This will be on us. But then I don't want to speak, I don't know if we need to pass a resolution or, because right now, we don't have lodging tax
Right,
for
we'll-
Airbnb.
Yeah, we
We'll
can't do
begin
that.
conversations
Mhm.
about short-term rental and
Yep.
hotel lodging in the coming
Mhm.
months so that for 2024, we've got plenty of time to put it to the voters.
Right.
So we can just skip over that.
Yep.
But
Real quick,
Yeah, no.
do you think you have enough data points, historical and current, that when we switch to self-collect, you'll be
Mhm.
able to assess how much more or less or same we're collecting when we're doing self-collect? Do you think you'll have enough data points?
I don't believe so, not
Okay.
at the moment. And
Okay.
that's why we are having this conversation with the sales tax consultant, just so she can tell us from her experience how much of an increase they've seen. And even being self-collect can be done in different ways. You don't have to go 100% self-collect. I mean, it's still self-collect, but you can outsource certain parts of the process to other companies, especially if you can hire someone who knows it all, the collection of the taxes, the reporting, the auditing, and whatnot, you can collect. So Castle Pines is outsourcing the entire process to this company, HDL. So there are, but I don't have enough data points as of now to know. Of course.
okay, is there any other questions related to the budget?
Yes,
Okie dokie.
okay. And you and I've talked a little bit about this. I'm just looking for some general information because when I look at the budget and how it's allocated, I make the following assumption, tell me I'm wrong,
Of course.
okay? I call it a G&A or an allocation
Mhm.
that for insurance, utilities, technical services, all of those things are broken out
Yes,
and they're portioned to various areas
correct.
based on, here's my question. Some of them I assume are based on the number of employees,
Mhm.
but then others I assume are based on square footage.
Yes, and there is a third layer. So we do have allocation. You are absolutely correct. We do allocate.
Do I get points? Oh,
I'm
gee.
gonna bring some stars next time. So the majority, the preferred method, it's based on FTEs, just to be fair. So we do allocate insurance, we do allocate internet or phones or, um, utilities, and that can be electric or water or whatnot. So FTE, based on FTE, it's probably the most utilized method, but also the location of the invoice place, that's the third layer I mentioned. So for water, sometimes it's just parks, so then we will allocate just to parks. Or sometimes electric will be, there is allocation just water department, or, so then in that case, since the invoice is very clear, we allocated 100% to either the department or the fund. And then the third one will be perhaps on the size or, let's say facilities, it's taking this much space out of this building. So yes, you are
So you have
correct.
you have a formula.
I do.
Okay. I don't
And
want to, I don't want to know. I do
Yes.
not want to know. I just wanted to try to understand
Mhm,
because it didn't seem to make sense to me,
mhm.
but that's why. Um,
And these allocations are reviewed with the department heads, and we discuss, does it make sense to have this specific invoice allocated this way or whatnot? And for FTE, we use the budget number because, the FTEs are changing, the number is constantly changing, but we do need to have something constant, so we're gonna use the budget.
okay, can you explain the difference between professional services, technical services, and communication services?
You kind of got me on that because I was confused too. So, and I can allow my peers to explain a little bit more. But yes, there are some budgets for a department where you see both. So let's take planning. Professional services, we use that when we didn't have a planning director and we use a consultant. Technical services will be more like we work on JCP and they're working on the design. They use some specific construction company that working, or engineering firms, I should say. And then, I'm sorry, communication services, you said? So I'm a bit
Technical services
technical and professional.
communication services.
So I've
yes.
seen, like I mentioned, planning department using professional to provide the skill set required when a director was not, when we had a vacant role for a director for that department, and technical was more when they were looking for some specific engineering firms to work with to kind of move along whatever projects they had. But I can allow my peers to provide perhaps more insight into those.
Good question, because I had the same question. I think for me, if you
Another
look,
point for me, right?
absolutely, we actually, we're getting gold stars. Madeline's putting it in her budget.
All right.
Yeah, under technical. For me, if you just go further down into the budget, it breaks it down. And for the police department, it makes it kind of easy because we do have communication services with radios and all that kind of stuff. So it helps compartmentalize where that money's going. So I think the title is probably pretty fluid depending on the department. But for me, just diving deeper into that budget, it makes it easier to kind of put them in a category instead of just having like a miscellaneous type category. I know it doesn't give you all the answer you're asking for, but if I were to just explain what each one was, I couldn't do it. I'd have to go down into the budget and go, let me break it down and tell you or show you what it means.
No, that was my assumption as well.
Mhm.
One last question, Mona,
Yes.
quickly. Where are the attorney's fees?
So we actually have them in three funds. The majority, it's in the general fund. And then we have an amount in PD, in 2F, police fund. And then we have about 50,000 in water fund.
That's a different, but those are different attorneys. I'm talking more.
It's the same attorneys, just depending on what cases they're working on and what kind of. So for general fund, it's actually in administration, Department 45, because trying to break them down by department, it's still the same general fund. But if it's PD related or if it's water related, then we have different funds.
And do
And
we call that professional services?
I believe so, yes. And I can send you this information tomorrow, specific if it goes to technical or professional, and then the amount in 2024 budget for the attorney's fees
Thank
and the
you.
fund, of course.
Okay, any other questions? All right,
Yes.
Will, we're gonna pause for a moment, take a few minutes of recess before we begin the regular meeting, okay?
Thank you all.